Hello and welcome back to the Great Album Series, where I'll be discussing awesome albums that are in my collection. And today we've got Comus, First Utterance. Now Comus, you could say, are part of the UK Progressive Folk Act. Think of groups like Fairport Convention or Lindisfarne, but whether those two groups have a pretty pleasant and easy to get into sound, this is far from it. This is avant-garde to the max. These guys are a cult act, and I say cult as in they only have 2 albums, at least during their classic run, and have built up steam over time, but when they first came out, they didn't really make that much of an impression, or the impression they did make probably scarred some people, because the music contained within is disturbing. Really disturbing. What makes it so disturbing, you ask? Well, musically speaking, it's gorgeous, pleasant, if pretty dense and spiraling folk music. Really difficult to get into on a first listen, if it wasn't for the vocals, which are really the final nail in the coffin. I mean, these vocals aren't your pleasant vocal harmonies that you might get from a Fairport. No, this is demonic chanting, ritual sacrifice sounding vocals. Now, them being this weird and out of the box has gained them a lot of fans. For instance, David Bowie and Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth. Obviously, he'd enjoy an act like this. But the songs themselves, beyond the vocals, which are of course really disturbing, that's not what makes this the classic that it is. It's that the actual folk instrumentation underneath is also stellar. I mean, if it was just the vocals on top of some bog standard folk tunes, I don't think people would be talking about this album in the way that they do. Granted, the vocals certainly help, but it's not what really sells the album as making it the must-have that I feel you should have as well. For starters, and this is part of the music itself after all, the vocal layering itself is amazing. You got different male and female vocalists coming in and out, all with these rather theatrical performances, and it does elicit that kind of feeling that someone's being sacrificed in the woods, but the actual presentation is still to this day phenomenal. For an album that came out in 1971, this still sounds fantastic, and that again comes with the beautiful acoustic guitars. In general, I find that folk music tends to have aged better than a lot of the rock at the time, purely because with an acoustic there's a lot less that can go wrong in the production front, but that's not selling it short. This album does sound phenomenal. There's not just great acoustic guitar, but there's also violin, there's some great percussion involved on this album. All of it is thrilling, it's churning, it's building, and the songs themselves are so dynamic. Take the 2 mammoth tracks that occupy the meat of the album here. You've got The Herald, one of the greatest songs that this band ever did. It's a progressive anthem that goes through all of these different change-ups, and it's just such a compelling track from beginning to end. It has so many cool sections. It is powerful when it needs to be, and then it cools down. And the same thing can be said for the track Drip Drip, which to me is emblematic of the atmosphere and the mood that this band wants to create. Because at the beginning again, it has a very solemn, very tranquil opening, and then builds up in intensity, has this really rattling, chaotic midsection before eventually giving way to just this rather thick and punchy and personally very funky bass line. You just have all of these dynamics throughout the songs. And before you think that I've made this album sound incredibly impenetrable and difficult to get into, it is that, and the vocals are definitely off-putting to many people. What I'd say is there are plenty of fun sections on this album as well that, for a first-time listener, you can latch onto. Diana, despite having a lot of the vocal theatrics, is a very good tightly woven song at just over 4 minutes. It's not the mammoth behemoth that some of the other tracks are on here. And then you've got the song The Bite, which is probably the closest thing to a hard rocking song on the album. It just has this incredible momentum to it, and each of the sections I think you can latch onto melodically what's going on the first time round. And then Bitten comes on appropriately right after it to just give you that post-song blues of, oh no, we're back in creepy territory again. And then we close off with The Prisoner, which gives you a bit from column A and a bit from column B. As you can imagine, First Utterance was an acquired taste, and they didn't really make the impression that they probably should have. and as a result, their second album was a marked departure and a bit of a compromise stylistically. Not a bad album, but definitely a step down, and it draws a lot of ire as a result, simply on the crime of not being First Utterance. They did eventually reunite due to the momentum that was building over the decades and release Back from the Coma, which is a solid album and features a lot of tracks that would have been on a follow-up to First Utterance, but still, there is really one First Utterance. This is wholly unique and the definitive artistic statement from Comus. So there you have it. If you enjoy music that's of the obscure and creepy variety, if you want to really push yourself musically with some real avant-garde stuff, then please, by all means, check out this album. Or if you have heard the album, tell me what you think about it in the comment section below. I understand this one is pretty contentious. It does have a lot of critical acclaim behind it these days, but it is certainly something that is not for everyone's ears. So, please, those are the voices that I'd like to hear from the most. Please let me know, all 5 of you who watched this video, what you think in the comment section. Until next time, see ya.